Well, welcome back to the garage, everyone. As you can see by the cab hanging behind me and the tarp around my garage, plans have changed a bit. I was supposed to send the truck off, or the cab off, and some other parts for sandblasting, and due to a scheduling conflict and continually being pushed back by the sandblaster, I've had to change things up a bit, and it looks like I'm sandblasting it myself now. So I actually own my own sandblaster. It's not a big one. It's just a small guy. It's a 5-gallon. And I only use this for just small odds and ends. And I've actually had it sitting in my shed for about the last 10 years. And I have no intentions on doing anything this big until today. I ended up having to buy a new hose because the other one was so dried out and brittle as it was cracking. But I have no idea how long this is going to take me. It's a very small tip. Like I said, this was not the original plan, but plans have changed. I'm using crushed glass to do this. This is what I emptied out of the sandblaster. This is what's been sitting in it for 10 years. Just some coarse black sand, which is actually in really good shape. I expected it to be wet or clumped up or anything, but it's not. So I'm actually going to dump that back in the sandblaster, and I'm going to use it on the bottom side. I've got the cab hanging so I can get under it. And I mean, I'm not going to lay under it. I'm going to lay beside it and shoot under it. But I'm going to use up the rest of that sand on the bottom side. And then the crushed glass I'm going to use on the exterior and inside. Now I'm putting on one of these disposable suits, because if you've never sandblasted before, it gets everywhere. And when I switch to the crushed glass, that is not something I feel like having in my butt crack. So I'll be wearing this. So I emptied the sandblaster of what sand was in it, and I decided to change a few things up. One of which, I flipped the cab under the firewall so I can have easy access to the floor, because it's just a pain in the butt laying on my side. I couldn't really see very well as to what I was doing, and I didn't like the idea that the cab's turning over top of me. So you can see it is working, but I mean, I got to hit this stuff down here better. And it's taking a while. I swept up the sand that I had, ran it through a piece of window screen, and I'm going to reuse it. And we'll see how far I can get with the sand on the floor before I switch to the glass for the exterior of the body. Well, this is one of the dirtiest jobs I've done in a while. This has totally trashed my whole garage. Dust is everywhere. The tarps helped a little bit, but it's everywhere. And it took me about 4 hours just to do the bottom side of the cab. It does a good job, but if you've got areas that are pitted, it takes a lot longer to get it off. And the heavy rust, like it was pretty heavy around here, takes a long time to get it off. On the outside though, where it's just paint, it actually started removing it pretty quick. But if you have areas of heavy rust, like this kind of area, is going to take a while. The painted surface not so much. But man, like it is dirty. Like look at my mask. Like, I'm not doing any more sandblasting. I've had enough. So I tore down all the tarps, and the amount of time it took me to do the underside, I still have to spend just as much time doing the top side of the floor, then I have to do the inside of the cab, and then the outside of the cab. No, I'm not putting that kind of time into it. I gave it a shot. It's not worth my time. So what I've done, I've moved on to welding in all the bolt holes, which there's a million of on this firewall. Like, there's so many bolt holes. And what I had here, it was more or less just one hole, but there was a bunch of spot welds that I drilled out on both corners because it had this metal plate on the inside. Let's turn the light on here. So up in the corner, it had these metal brackets which have some weight to them. And that was just for the rods that came out from the firewall to the rad support. And I'm not going to be running those kinds of rods anymore, so they're not really required. So anywhere I can ditch weight, I'm ditching it. There was also a plate on the back side of here, so I drilled out the spot welds, knocked it off. Now I'm filling the holes in. I figure I might as well weld in a bunch of this stuff now. I did find another sandblaster that can take the cab in earlier, and that kind of basically that changed my mind as to whether I'm going to sandblast or have somebody else do it. Because the reason why I was going to do it was because I kept getting pushed back. It didn't look like it was going to happen anytime soon, and I want to get rolling on this cab. Now that I found someone else that can do it sooner, I'm going to let them do it. So I'm just going to move on to welding up all the holes. Now, I'm sure there's a right and a wrong way to eliminate all these holes on the firewall. Some guys might just cut it out and put a whole new sheet of steel in and just get rid of all this mess. I'm not going to do that. But what I've been doing is, like most of these spot welds I drilled out, I just run the MIG welder and fill them in. Some of these larger ones, what I've been doing is I just use washers. Right, you find the right size washer that fits in the appropriate hole, and then I'll weld the washer in, and then all I'm left with at the end is just filling in that hole in the center. That's just my method of doing it. It works for me. You know, I don't know if it's faster or slower or not. It's just the way I do it. And for the larger holes, like this guy, I use my hole saw and I just drill out the appropriate size, and I'm left with something like this. And then I'll weld that guy in there and then finish it off by just filling in the hole in the center. After grinding it, that's taking care of most of the holes. I still have to do this one down here, and I'm gonna wait until it's sandblasted to do these guys because it's pretty rusty, and I'd rather have cleaner steel to weld against. And this spot, I'm almost out of wire, so I'm gonna have to get more wire, and then I'll finish this guy off. I also did all the ones on the roof, from the roof lights and that beacon. So that's taken care of. This is just for the wiper arm. But yeah, she's pretty much ready to go. But that's as far as I'm going to take this right now. The next time you see this cab, it is going to be completely rust free and probably already primered. And then we can get rocking on the chassis. Well, it was only a 2-day turnaround from when I last filmed anything, and the sandblasters knocked this out pretty quick. Check it out. It's not primered, but I want to show you what it looks like in raw steel. Check this out. There's a few things that I did not, I shouldn't say I didn't expect it, but I didn't know about it and I didn't think there was going to be a problem. But in the floor, we do have a hole. I already knew about these couple little holes, and there's a few dents along the back of the cab here, which I did not know about. I mean, the 3 layers of paint kind of masked it all, and there's a little tiny hole right there. You can kind of see. But other than that, it's in pretty good shape. And it's kind of neat when you see it like this. You can see where the lead is. I mean, it just eats up and textures differently when it's sandblasted. Those are the only 2 spots on the whole truck that they use lead. But other than that, turned out pretty good. Now, I had a lot of other parts like the grill, which actually turned out really good. And the dash I had done, rad support. And if you remember the oil tank, I have plans for that. So I wanted to get it cleaned up. Now the door, this door was in good shape. After being sandblasted, it is not in good shape anymore. You always hear about the risk of warping panels when sandblasting, and unfortunately that's what happened with this door. I'm not a body guy, so I'm not quite sure what to do with it yet, but it's pretty wavy now. So I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do there, because originally all this had was a few small holes in the bottom, which I was prepared to just cut out and put new steel in. But now I don't know the best approach now. I'm gonna talk to a hot rod builder that I know very well, and we'll see what he recommends. I might just hand the door off to him and see if he can fix it. And I did not bother getting the other door sandblasted because it's in such rough shape. You know, it's kind of rotted. The whole bottom's rotted out. So right now I'm in search of another door, and if I can't find another door, then I'm gonna see if that one can be repaired. But yeah, I just want to show you what it all looked like before I primered it. I am happy. The sandblaster actually said that it's actually in really, really good shape. They were amazed at how well it turned out. But yeah, just wanted to give you an update. She's naked. Till next time, see ya.